Hello everyone, and welcome to Think Biochemistry. This channel is dedicated to making biochemistry simple, interesting, and easy to understand for students of pharmacy, medicine, life sciences, biotechnology, nursing, and other health science courses. Our goal is to explain complex biochemical concepts using clear diagrams, real-life examples, animations, and exam-oriented explanations, so that you not only score well in your examinations, but also build a strong conceptual foundation. If you're passionate about understanding life at the molecular level, you've come to the right place. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our latest educational videos. Now, let's begin today's topic. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the topics that will be covered in today's lecture. First, we will start with an introduction to biochemistry, where we will understand what biochemistry is, why it is important, and how it helps us study life at the molecular level. Next, we will discuss Introduction to Metabolism. Here, we will learn the definition of metabolism, the difference between anabolism and catabolism, and how these processes help living organisms produce and utilize energy. After that, we will study the elements essential for metabolism, including carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. We will also understand why these elements are indispensable for life. Finally, we will answer an important question. Why do these elements form a specific number of chemical bonds? We will explore concepts such as valence electrons, valency, and chemical bonding, which explain how biomolecules like proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids are formed. By the end of this lecture, you will have a clear understanding of the basic principles of biochemistry and metabolism, providing a strong foundation for advanced topics. Now, let's begin with the introduction to biochemistry. Let's start the introduction to biochemistry. Biochemistry is the branch of science that studies the chemical substances, chemical reactions, and molecular processes occurring within living organisms. It combines the principles of biology and chemistry to explain how cells function, how energy is produced, and how biomolecules interact to sustain life. Biochemistry focuses on important biomolecules such as carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, vitamins, enzymes, and hormones. Understanding biochemistry helps us explain normal body functions, diagnose diseases, develop medicines, and improve human health. It forms the foundation of subjects such as medicine, pharmacy, biotechnology, molecular biology, and genetics. 3. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a biochemical process carried out by plants, algae, and some bacteria. Using sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, plants synthesize glucose and release oxygen. This process converts light energy into chemical energy, providing food and oxygen essential for nearly all living organisms. 4. Enzyme action. Enzymes are biological catalysts that accelerate chemical reactions without being consumed. They bind specifically to their substrates, forming an enzyme-substrate complex that lowers the activation energy of the reaction. Enzymes play vital roles in digestion, metabolism, DNA replication, and countless other biochemical processes, ensuring that reactions occur rapidly and efficiently under normal physiological conditions. Now, let's understand one of the most important concepts in biochemistry: metabolism. The word metabolism comes from the Greek word metabole, which means to change. In living organisms, metabolism refers to all the chemical changes that occur inside our cells to keep us alive. Definition: metabolism is the sum of all the chemical reactions that occur in a living organism to maintain life. These reactions help the body produce energy, grow, repair tissues, and perform all essential functions. Metabolism is divided into two major processes: Catabolism, and Anabolism. 1. Catabolism, demolition of a building. Look at the demolished building on the left side of the slide. Imagine an old building that needs to be demolished. A large building is broken down into smaller materials such as bricks, cement, iron rods, and sand. During demolition, energy is released, and the smaller materials can be reused or removed. Similarly, in our body, catabolism is the process in which large, complex molecules are broken down into smaller molecules, releasing energy in the form of ATP. Examples: glycogen to glucose, proteins to amino acids, fats to fatty acids plus glycerol. So, catabolism equals breakdown plus energy released. 2. Anabolism, construction of a building. Now, look at the building under construction on the right side. To construct a new building, workers bring together small materials like bricks, cement, steel, and sand. However, simply having these materials is not enough. They need energy, machinery, and labor to build a strong structure. In the same way, anabolism is the process in which small molecules combine to form larger, more complex molecules, and this process requires energy. Examples: amino acids to proteins, glucose to glycogen, nucleotides to DNA and RNA. So, anabolism equals building up plus energy required. Key difference: catabolism breaks down complex molecules and releases energy, ATP, while anabolism builds complex molecules and uses energy, ATP. Catabolism produces smaller molecules, while anabolism produces larger molecules. Example: glycogen goes to glucose. Example: amino acids go to proteins. Conclusion: to summarize, metabolism is the combination of catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism breaks down molecules and releases energy, while anabolism uses that energy to build new molecules needed for growth, repair, and maintenance. Just as demolition and construction are both essential in civil engineering, catabolism and anabolism are both essential for maintaining life in every living cell. Now, let's discuss the essential elements required for metabolism. Although the human body contains many elements, 6 major elements: carbon, C; hydrogen, H; oxygen, O; nitrogen, N; phosphorus, P; and sulfur, are the primary building blocks of life. Together, they are often remembered by the acronym CHNOPS. Carbon forms the backbone of all organic molecules because it can form 4 stable covalent bonds. Hydrogen is a component of water and organic compounds and plays a vital role in acid-base balance and energy transfer. Oxygen is essential for cellular respiration, where it helps produce ATP, the energy currency of the cell. Nitrogen is required for the synthesis of amino acids, proteins, DNA, and RNA. Phosphorus is a key component of ATP, nucleic acids, and cell membranes. Sulfur is found in amino acids such as cysteine and methionine, helping maintain protein structure and enzyme function. These 6 elements are indispensable for metabolism because they combine to form the biomolecules that sustain life and support growth, repair, and energy production. Now, let's discuss the first and lightest element essential for metabolism: hydrogen, H. Hydrogen has an atomic number of 1, which means it contains 1 proton in its nucleus and 1 electron surrounding the nucleus. Its electronic configuration is 1s1, indicating that the first energy level, also called the K-shell, contains only 1 electron. According to the duet rule, elements that have only 1 electron shell become stable when that shell contains 2 electrons, similar to the electronic configuration of helium. Since hydrogen has only 1 electron, it needs 1 more electron to achieve stability. Therefore, hydrogen usually forms 1 covalent bond by sharing its single electron with another atom. For example, in a hydrogen molecule, H2, each hydrogen atom shares 1 electron with the other, allowing both atoms to attain 2 electrons in their outermost shell. Hydrogen also forms covalent bonds with oxygen in water, H2O, and with carbon in organic compounds. Hydrogen is an essential component of water, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. It also plays a vital role in acid-base balance, energy transfer, and cellular metabolism. Thus, hydrogen's ability to form one stable covalent bond makes it indispensable for the structure and function of biological molecules and for sustaining life. Now, let's understand the octet rule, which explains why most atoms form a specific number of chemical bonds. The octet rule states that atoms tend to gain, lose, or share electrons to achieve 8 electrons in their outermost shell, valence shell. When an atom has 8 valence electrons, it attains a stable electronic configuration, similar to that of the noble gases, making it chemically more stable and less reactive. To understand this concept, let's consider the example of carbon dioxide, CO2. Carbon has 4 valence electrons, while each oxygen atom has 6 valence electrons. Carbon requires 4 more electrons to complete its octet, and each oxygen atom requires 2 more electrons. Therefore, carbon shares 2 pairs of electrons with each oxygen atom, forming 2 double covalent bonds. This arrangement is represented as O(C) equals O. After sharing electrons, carbon has a complete octet of 8 electrons, and each oxygen atom also achieves 8 electrons in its outermost shell. As a result, all the atoms become stable. The octet rule is essential for understanding chemical bonding, molecular structure, and the formation of biomolecules such as carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. It helps explain why atoms combine in specific ways to form stable compounds that are necessary for life and metabolism. Now, let's discuss carbon, one of the most important elements in biochemistry. Carbon has an atomic number of 6, which means it contains 6 protons and 6 electrons. Its electronic configuration is 1s squared, 2s squared, 2p squared. This means 2 electrons are present in the first shell, K shell, and 4 electrons are present in the second shell, L shell. Now, look at the Bohr model, circle diagram on the right side of the slide. The inner circle represents the K shell, which contains 2 electrons and is filled. The outer circle represents the L shell, which contains 4 electrons. Since the L shell can hold a maximum of 8 electrons, carbon requires 4 more electrons to complete its octet and become stable. Instead of gaining or losing 4 electrons, carbon shares its 4 valence electrons with other atoms, forming 4 covalent bonds. This unique property is called tetravalency, and it enables carbon to form long chains, rings, and complex molecules. At the bottom of the slide, the example of methane, CH4, is shown. Here, carbon shares 1 electron with each of 4 hydrogen atoms, forming 4 single covalent bonds. As a result, both carbon and hydrogen achieve stable electronic configurations. Because of its ability to form 4 strong covalent bonds, carbon serves as the backbone of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, and countless other organic compounds, making it the fundamental element of life. Now, let's discuss nitrogen, one of the most important elements essential for metabolism and life. Nitrogen has an atomic number of 7, which means it contains 7 protons in its nucleus and 7 electrons surrounding the nucleus. Its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p3, indicating that 2 electrons occupy the first shell, K shell, and 5 electrons occupy the second shell, L shell. Now, look at the Bohr model, circle diagram on the right side of the slide. The inner circle represents the K shell, which contains 2 electrons and is filled. The outer circle represents the L shell, also known as the valence shell, and it contains 5 valence electrons. Since the valence shell can accommodate 8 electrons, Nitrogen requires 3 more electrons to complete its octet and achieve a stable electronic configuration. Instead of gaining 3 electrons, nitrogen usually shares 3 electrons with other atoms, forming 3 covalent bonds. This property is known as trivalency. The example shown at the bottom is ammonia, NH3, where nitrogen forms 3 single covalent bonds with 3 hydrogen atoms by sharing 1 electron with each hydrogen atom. 1 lone pair of electrons remains on the nitrogen atom. Nitrogen is an essential component of amino acids, proteins, enzymes, DNA, RNA, ATP, vitamins, and many hormones. Therefore, nitrogen plays a crucial role in protein synthesis, genetic information storage, metabolism, growth, tissue repair, and the normal functioning of every living cell. Now, let's learn about oxygen, one of the most important elements required for life and metabolism. Oxygen has an atomic number of 8, meaning it contains 8 protons in its nucleus and 8 electrons surrounding it. Its electronic configuration is 1s squared, 2s squared, 2p4, which tells us how these electrons are arranged. Now, look at the Bohr model, the circle diagram, shown on the right side of the slide. The small inner circle represents the K shell, which contains 2 electrons and is filled. The larger outer circle represents the L shell, which contains 6 electrons. Since the outer shell is most stable with 8 electrons, oxygen requires 2 additional electrons to complete its octet. Instead of gaining 2 electrons, oxygen usually shares 2 of its valence electrons with other atoms, allowing it to form 2 covalent bonds. This is why oxygen is called a divalent element. At the bottom of the slide, you can see the water molecule, HOH. Here, the oxygen atom shares 1 electron with each hydrogen atom, forming 2 single covalent bonds. Oxygen also retains 2 lone pairs of electrons, which influence the bent shape of the water molecule. Oxygen is a major component of water, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, and ATP. It is also the final electron acceptor in cellular respiration, enabling cells to produce ATP, the energy currency of life. Therefore, oxygen is essential for energy production, metabolism, and the survival of all living organisms. This slide explains the element sulfur, which is represented by the symbol S and has an atomic number of 16. This means every sulfur atom contains 16 protons in its nucleus and 16 electrons surrounding it. The electron configuration of sulfur is 1s squared, 2s squared, 2p6, 3s squared, 3p4, which gives the electron distribution 2, 8, 6 in the K, L, and M shells. Now look at the circle diagram on the right. The innermost circle, K shell, contains 2 electrons. The second circle, L shell, contains 8 electrons, which fills that shell. The outermost circle, M shell, contains 6 valence electrons. Since sulfur needs 2 more electrons to complete its octet, it usually forms 2 covalent bonds by sharing electrons with other atoms. At the bottom of the slide, the HSH structure represents hydrogen sulfide, H2S. In this molecule, sulfur shares 1 electron with each hydrogen atom, forming 2 single covalent bonds. This allows each hydrogen atom to achieve the duet rule, while sulfur completes its octet, resulting in a stable molecule. Sulfur is an essential element in living organisms. It is found in the amino acids cysteine and methionine, which are important building blocks of proteins. Sulfur also helps stabilize protein structure by forming disulfide bonds, contributes to enzyme activity, and is involved in many metabolic reactions. Thus, sulfur plays a vital role in biochemistry and the proper functioning of cells. Now, let us discuss phosphorus, P, an essential element required for life and metabolism. Phosphorus has an atomic number of 15, which means it contains 15 protons and 15 electrons. Its electronic configuration is 1sq, 2sq, 2p6, 3sq, 3p3, giving a shell distribution of 2, 8, and 5 electrons. Therefore, phosphorus has 5 valence electrons in its outermost M shell. In its normal ground state, phosphorus has 3 unpaired electrons, so it commonly forms 3 covalent bonds, giving it a valency of 3. However, phosphorus can also exhibit a valency of 5. In the excited state, 1 electron from the 3s orbital is promoted to the 3d orbital, resulting in 5 unpaired electrons. This enables phosphorus to form 5 covalent bonds, as seen in compounds such as phosphorus pentachloride, PCl5. The structure of PCl5 is trigonal bipyramidal, demonstrating the ability of phosphorus to expand its valence shell. Phosphorus belongs to group 15 of the periodic table, also known as the pnictogen family. It is highly reactive and is usually found in nature as phosphate compounds rather than in its free elemental form. Biologically, phosphorus is one of the most important elements in living organisms. It is a major component of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, the primary energy currency of cells. It is also an essential part of DNA and RNA, where phosphate groups form the backbone of genetic material. In addition, phosphorus is present in phospholipids, which are the main structural components of cell membranes. It also contributes to the formation of bones and teeth as calcium phosphate, and plays an important role in enzyme regulation, cell signaling, and acid-base balance. In summary, phosphorus has 5 valence electrons, commonly forms 3 bonds, but can form 5 bonds in its excited state. Its crucial role in energy transfer, genetic material, cell membranes, and skeletal structure makes phosphorus indispensable for life and normal cellular metabolism. Thank you.